Welcome to Living and Investing with me, Jonathan Broekman. Today our guest is Mark Kaminsky from the Alternative Board. Mark, our guest today from the Alternative Board, is going to give us tips on how business owners survive the economy in 2024 and grow their businesses and make them succeed. Mark, so tell us about you and your background and the Alternative Board.
So I heard once that you never waste a good crisis. And through my journeys of building businesses, I lost a lot of money at one of them, and it really was a terrible crisis. But I knew that I had to figure things out quickly. And it was in my next business that I grew that I quickly joined the Alternative Board and started working with some of their CEOs. And when I left that business, I work with CEOs now all the time. The Alternative Board helps business owners drive their business forward. It gives them a competitive advantage that they wouldn't get normally. We saw that the bigger public companies had this wonderful advantage of working with their boards and bouncing their ideas off of. So we saw the gap with the smaller business owners, and they were out there doing it by themselves. They were isolated, didn't have that opportunity. They had to bounce ideas around friends, around a bar. So we bring together all these business owners and we put them onto these small groups and let them collaborate together and work off the challenges and opportunities that they all face. So that's why we call it the Alternative Board. It's an alternative to having a board of directors.
Moving on to businesses and the problems business owners face right now, what would you say is the common theme on business owners in South Africa in 2024?
I think the biggest challenge that they face with at the moment is the very uncertain economic environment we find and the political changes that we have. Where do you turn? How do you respond? What choices do you make? It's unusual and we're not familiar with it. We had a great discussion at one of the boards around this, and the business owner was saying, what do? I'm terrified of what's happening in South Africa. I need to now push my business internationally. How do I start dividing it up and moving shares and doing this all around? And someone said to him something quite profound. He said, is your approach a defensive approach or an offensive approach? And he realized that his approach was a defensive one. And we said to him, that's not really the greatest idea at the moment. When you're in defense mode, you start to protect, you start looking at saving costs, you start building a fort around where you are. The advice was keep it offensive and start looking at building a business outside of South Africa as against trying to split and do all these complicated things. So I thought that was really good advice. Another great thing that came upon, and we had a great discussion today on this as well, trying to use a fishing net to catch a cloud. I mean, that was a fascinating statement. I think it even came from you. I mean, what did that mean for you?
I think we try too hard to refine things without knowing what it is we want to refine to begin with. And so we do pull at straws and go to all different avenues to try and cut costs, hire new people, change systems, and invariably you're missing everything each time.
Yeah, it's almost like the shotgun approach to something. It's like, I need to solve problems, there's lots of problems, let me just take the shotgun and keep shooting it away. And sometimes you just need to say, hang on a second, I need a proper strategy to get me to where I want to go.
Okay, I would think that marketing and HR problems are really commonplace, especially in this environment. What sort of feedback are you getting from business owners on that?
One of the biggest and most common problems we have is trying to build this team, this high performance culture. And it reminded me of Father's Day, and my kids wrote me a beautiful words in a card, and I was taken back. I thought to myself, wow, they thought that of me. But it was just the mere fact that they put in words what they'd been thinking and feeling. And I forgot and didn't realize the value that I had added. When it comes to a company and building a high performance culture, being intentional around the aspects of communication and reaffirming and communicating clearly are often foundational to building a company of high performance culture. And we often get stuck behind the cubicles and the computers and the WhatsApp rather, but those are very transactional. But it's about being intentional.
That Monday morning meeting where you outline to the business where we are and where we're going.
That's exactly the same thing. Putting out the vision, showing where everyone's going, reminding them of what we're supposed to be doing.
And from experience, what tips would you give a business owner if they wanted to scale their business right now?
I think it's a leadership challenge. I think it needs to start off with you need to lead self, you need to lead others, you need to lead managers, and then you need to lead leaders. If you can get that formula right, you can scale successfully.
You made that sound easy. Each one of those, lead yourself.
So leading yourself is the most important. If you can't get that right, you can't do the rest. Leading oneself is making sure you have the right mindset. You have that stability of mind of knowing what's my vision, where am I going to go, what do I want? We spoke about that this morning. What do you want as a business owner? Do you want to scale?
All the why questions.
All the why questions, hey. And when we spoke today, it was around if you scale, the complexity that comes with it. Do you want that complexity? I mean, what are your thoughts around when you're trying to scale, and your thoughts are, do I want the complexity or the simplicity of it? What were your thoughts around that?
I think that we read these books that suggest 10xing your business, for example, and we don't go through the process of what that entails.
Yeah.
And the complexity.
Yeah. So that first part of leading self is critical. Knowing what you are as a person, being able to communicate successfully, being able to maintain yourself and work under high pressure. So that positive self-mental attitude is often very important. The rest of them follow on. And if you are working hard on developing yourself and having a personal development plan, which most people don't have. I mean, we often talk about reading all these books, and you go through a ton of books in all your things. Got to continue reading those books. Only then are you able to start leading others. But you've got to want to lead others. Otherwise, you're always going to stay small.
Mark, when you mention leading managers or managing managers becoming good leaders, a good staff member doesn't automatically become a good manager.
No.
How do you filter for that, and how do you train for that?
You know, as we mentioned early on, is around that being intentional around it. And something we spoke about in one of the meetings was around developing critical thinking. Okay? And how do you equip others to develop that? And that seemed to be the link between people understanding of doing the work and for people to develop into others, into the leaders, or the managers and the leaders. So if you can help teach people to think and not only do you start developing the process and the journey to get them into another place, into becoming leaders and managers, or also helping you scale your business?
Mark, in this current economy, just following elections, we're not meant to talk on elections, but it seems like the outcome has been good for business. What would you think are the roadblocks that a business owner needs to check on right now to prevent his business from growing and getting through these difficult times?
I think a business owner needs to learn to become anti-fragile. If he's not learning to bounce back fast enough, to be resilient, he's going to be struggling. The road and the walk of an entrepreneur's journey is filled with consistent issues, challenges, pain all the time. And if you're unable to bounce back from all the failures, you're going to be fragile and you're going to be just burnt out and lying on the sides of the roads, and no one's really going to care.
So it's not so much taking over new markets as just maintaining the ones you've got and growing on the little bit of anchorage that you've got in any market right now.
Yeah, and beyond that, dominating it. You know, I don't like the idea of trying to compete. Competition is around trying to fit into the environment and doing a little bit better than your competition. Go and dominate. Take that niche out and dominate it. Be super excellent at what you do. Increase your quality way beyond what everyone else do. Don't measure them, and just say, well, let me go better. You've got to dominate that market. So that's my thoughts around that. But if you think of entrepreneur managing the emotions in a business, I mean, what do you think are some of the keys of how an entrepreneur is supposed to manage these consistent issues and challenges that they get through every day?
I would say that the emotions right now are at an all-time high. And so managing emotions of the business owner and then the staff and the clients, obviously, is the single biggest concern right now. And so managing expectations, managing emotions.
I think you're exceptional at doing something that most business owners miss, and that's taking frequent holidays. Taking time away from work and saying, I deserve it, I'm worth it, and coming back charged. Do you find that helps you gear back into the environment?
So I've only had 4 holidays this year. They were only short ones, but I do find that maintaining a balance can only be done by time out the office. Time in the office non-stop doesn't work, isn't a good work-life balance, and it does take its toll on the business.
A business owner who's saying, I don't have time to take a break, is setting themselves up for failure.
Yeah.